Perhaps your morning coffee, perhaps your spent endlessly minutes on social media, or even that series you start watching over the weekend. Have you ever why we feel an irresistible attraction to some things? Is it merely a matter of willpower, or is there another knot to unravel deep within our brains and emotional worlds? Today, we will take a closer look at the topic of addiction. When we think of addiction, we might only consider drugs or cigarettes, but it's much more that. What are the everyday things we are become addicted to without realizing it? Why some people become addicted to a substance, a habit, or a behavior, while others do not? Because the addiction is not just a matter of willpower. It is a story hidden in our brains, our emotions, and connected even with our traumas. So let's get started. What is addiction? At the first glance, addiction may seem to belong only to those who consume alcohol or drugs. However, the situation is quite different. Addiction can manifest in different ways: social media, gaming, shopping, or even work. What defines addiction is not the substance and behavior itself, but the compulsion to do something despite negative consequences. According to Johann Hari, author of The Chasing of Scream, the roots of addiction often lie in disconnection in others, meaningful work, or even from the own selves. Hari argues that when people feel isolated, stressed, or depressed, they seek external comforts to fill emotional void. Carl Jung's words remind us that addiction is bad in all forms, whether alcohol, morphine, or idealism. Jung understood that the core of addiction is not the substance itself, but the void it attempts to fill. From a neurological perspective, addiction alters the brain's reward circuits. When you do something pleasurable, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good. This reinforces the behavior, making you want to do it again. However, over time, the brain becomes less sensitive to dopamine, leading you to recur more of substance or behavior to achieve the same effect. According to neurology, this dopamine cycle makes it difficult to quit, as your brain literally seeks out these rewards. However, the crux is this: the more you experience addiction, the less satisfaction you derive from it. This is why addiction tends to spiral out of control. What once provided pleasure becomes merely an act of escape from discomfort, a role of trauma in addiction. Gabermate argues in his book, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, that trauma plays a central role of addiction. For many individuals, addictive behaviors are coping mechanisms for deeper emotional wounds. These wounds may stem from childhood experience, neglect, or abuse. Mate states all addiction arises from pain, whether that pain is felt openly or remains hidden in the subconscious. This is why addiction can feel like a black hole, not merely craving for a substance to attempt to escape something deeper. The healing process begins when people confront the pain they have been feeling from. According to Mate, addressing addiction requires shifting society's focus from punishment and shame to compassion and understanding. This approach helps those struggling with addiction feel supported rather than isolated, which often triggers the addiction in the first place. Environmental triggers and social influences. Jean-Claude Matsiak, in his book La Fabrique des Dépendances, suggests that modern society functions as a factor for addictions. A fast-paced, overstimulating environment forces us into becoming dependent on something new. Endless scrolling on social media, binge-watching TV shows, or impulsive shopping. According to Matsiak, modern lifestyles have a structure that encourages the addiction. Distractions are everywhere, making it difficult to focus, live in the moment, and connect meaningfully with others. The more we disconnect, the more we seek rapid relief, further reinforcing the cycle of addiction. Breaking the cycle. Understanding triggers. One of the first steps to breaking cycle of addiction is understanding your personal triggers. Is it boredom, loneliness, stress, or anxiety that leads you to seek comfort in substance or behaviors? Often, addiction is less about the substance or behavior itself, what it represents, escape, or a meaning of comfort. Reaching your phone whenever you feel anxious may indicate that you are seeking a distraction from your discomfort. Recognizing these patterns and regaining control over them. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Breaking the cycle of addiction requires intentional efforts to be more aware of our habits and change them. The path to freedom. How do we overcome addiction? Now, let's look at how we can break free from the chains of addiction. Overcoming addiction is not merely a matter of willpower. It is about understanding, healing, and rebuilding your life. The first step of change is awareness. Often, people don't realize that they're caught in the cycle of the addiction until the consequences become unbearable. Mead argues that is the first step to overcoming addiction is to acknowledge its existence. Once you comfort it, you can start to find solutions. Ask yourself, what am I really seeking? Reveal the deeper emotional or psychological needs that fuel addiction. Another thing is seek connections. Avoid isolation. Johann Hari's theory emphasized that the importance to connection in overcoming addiction. People who feel disconnected from the others, society, or themselves are more prone to addiction. When we reconnect with friends, family, or meaningful activities, the need for addictive behaviors often diminishes. Group therapy, support systems, or simply spending time with loved ones can be profoundly healing. As J.K. Rowling said, we are only as strong as we united. While addiction feels isolations, connection builds resilience. The another thing is rewire your brain. Understand the science of healing. Addiction alters the brain, but the good news is that the brain has an incredible capacity for adapt. The brain's ability to form new neural connections suggests that rewiring for healthy behaviors is possible, even after addiction. Establishing new routines, practicing mindfulness, and engaging in non-destructive rewards can help the brain heal. Practice like meditation and exercise can often enhance the release of dopamine and serotonin, which balance mood and reduce cravings. Another thing we should understand is, this is not a destination. This is a journey in life. Recovery is not a straight line. Many people experience relapses during their journey, but this is not mean to failure. Instead, it presents an opportunity to learn which areas require more attention. As philosopher Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how do you react to it that matters. The key to recovery from addiction is resilience. Each setback is a chance to learn more and move forward with greater strength. Another thing is build a meaningful life without addiction. The final and perhaps is the most important steps is to rebuild your life in a way that leaves no room for addiction. This means finding new hobbies, passions, and relationships that satisfy you. Building a fulfilling life is cultivating a meaningful relationships. Addiction often leads to isolation, and rebuilding these connections can be a challenge, but this is vital. Johann Hari famously stated, "The opposite of addiction is connection." Healthy relationships, whether family or friends, provide emotional support and a sense of belonging, which are crucial to maintaining a life free from addiction. Healing these relationships takes time, but they become the foundation of a strong supportive system that fosters growth and resilience. As Nietzsche said, "He who has why to live can bear almost anyhow." Finding your purpose in life through work or personal goals can help create a life where addiction no longer has a space. And sometimes addiction needs professional work. Both individual and group-based therapies can be vital tools for exploring that trigger addiction. Cognitive behavior therapy, called CBT, helps individuals reframe negative thought patterns and develop healthier coping mechanisms. In more severe cases, rehabilitation centers provide a safe and supportive environments for individuals to detox and start their healing process. Conclusion: a lifelong journey. Breaking the cycle of addiction is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong journey. It recurs. However, each step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to freedom and healthier, more fulfilling life. Remember that recovery is a process. It is about progress, not perfection. Whether you are just beginning the journey or have been on the path for some time, the key is to stay committed to building a life where addiction no longer holds power over you. As Lao Tzu wisely said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.